What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to take a look and listen to Senator Debbie Stabenow. She's going to talk about this whole process and what's going on right now. And I will let you know, I'll give you the cliff notes. Nothing has happened today. Nothing has happened. We're still, they're still hung up on the Federal Reserve and the Treasury having the lending powers. And so they don't want to add that to this proposal. And so they want to put language in there so it expires, basically. The CARES Act, they created this emergency lending program. They do not want that to continue. And so when I say they, I mean Pat Toomey, and he does have some support from Republicans in the Senate. They don't want this to continue. And so because they don't want it to continue, that is where Democrats are stepping up and saying, no, look, that's not acceptable. We had it for all this time. We are still in a crisis. We have President-elect Joe Biden becoming president in January. We want to have those same powers just in case the economy takes a dive. We have the tools in order to help that situation without having to go through Congress. And that's the big problem, right? We see what Congress is doing right now when it comes to an emergency, having to go back to Congress and say, hey, we need money for this lending program. And, at a time of need, we might still be looking at a situation where politicians step back and say, no, that's all right. We're not going to do anything right now. We're going to pause. We're going to wait and see. And we'll be in a situation where the economy just tanks. So we do not want that to happen. And so we're going to listen to Senator Debbie Stabenow. She's going to explain exactly what transpired today. So I'm going to show you that clip right now. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. All right, so we're going to go ahead and play this clip, and it's about 6 minutes long, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. She is a member of the Senate Budget Committee and ranking member of the Subcommittee on Health Care. Senator, good evening.
Good evening, Joshua. It's always good to be with you.
Good to see you, too. I wonder what you think about Pat Toomey's objection that basically slowed down what would have been pretty much a voice vote on this and kind of derailed the process. Do you think he has a point in his objection?
Well, I'm very frustrated about this. And let me just start by saying, Joshua, having been involved in many of the discussions, including the lead Democrat on the food access and agriculture provisions, which we actually have something important to get more people food and support for our farmers. To see this derailed is very frustrating because people across the country, people in my home state of Michigan, they need help right now. They have needed help for months. We've tried to put together a bipartisan effort all summer and into the fall with Mitch McConnell. And finally, a bipartisan group came together after the election, which was terrific. And we've got all the elements now to do something to help people who are out of work and small businesses and people who need food access and protections in terms of losing their homes right now. Thousands and thousands of people losing their homes in January if we don't act. We have to act. And then at the last minute, we are seeing an effort that really, as we boil down to it, and I've been involved in a number of discussions today with Senator Toomey and others, the concern is that he really wants to tie the hands of the next administration in terms of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and the president to be able to act when there is a crisis. So we know he's objecting to the CARES Act lending provisions, but whenever we talk about how to address that, and I disagree with him on that, but there's always an effort to go further and basically limit what can be done in a financial crisis. And we're not done with the crisis. We are not done. We don't know exactly what will be happening in the new year. And it's really outrageous to think about limiting the tools of a new president to deal with the economic crisis we have.
Well, could I get you?
And she's not just talking about the provision that was in the CARES Act. She thinks that they want to even go further than that and just limit the tools that they have available for a crisis. And so it's not just a matter of extending what they were doing with the CARES Act, the programs in the CARES Act. They think, and she thinks, that they want to take it away entirely. So the president, the federal chair, the Treasury Department, they're not going to have the ability to do anything when it comes to a situation of a crisis without going through Congress first, which can be a problem because we know how Congress runs.
To react to something that another senator said in terms of how this whole process is playing out. Here's what Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas had to say about how he sees all this. Watch.
First of all, given the way that this is being negotiated, basically there are four people who are negotiating this massive spending package on behalf of the 535 members of Congress. And essentially, because this has been pushed off until these last days of the 116th session of Congress, the only thing most rank and file members will be able to do is to vote up or down. In other words, there's no opportunity to amend it through regular order. I just have to say, this is a terrible way to do business. And in the future, I hope we do better, because this is almost the worst of all worlds when it comes to legislating.
Senator, I know our time is tight, but I wonder how you feel about that. I mean, do you kind of feel like Senator Cornyn feels that you're sort of along for the ride with these negotiations?
Actually, I've been involved in a number of the negotiations. I have to say, I find it almost humorous that Senator Cornyn, who's number two only to Mitch McConnell in the Senate, would be acting as if he's not involved in those negotiations. I mean, he certainly should be.
Now, and this is really interesting. And maybe he showed his cards there. I mean, you are second in line when it comes to leadership. And if you're saying that the other senators don't really have a say, that's your fault because you're in leadership. So what you should be doing is getting out there to the other senators and finding out what they need and then relaying that to Mitch McConnell. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. Okay, it's impossible for them to have everyone in the same room. I understand that. But if you're just saying, well, it's just four people and they're the ones that are deciding everything, right there, he's showing you that he's not, I mean, the way he sounds, he's not really involved. Or either he's not involved or the other senators are not involved. And if they're not involved, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. So this is your game. This is what you should be doing. And if you're not doing it, I don't know what to say. And Debbie Stabenow, she's going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what she's doing. But I mean, this is the reason why things aren't getting done. No communication. You should be out there. It's crazy.
Congress, unfortunately, things never seem to happen unless there's a deadline, unfortunately, which is incredibly frustrating to me and certainly to people across the country. But I will tell you that there are a number of us, each of those that represent the pieces that are being talked about, the unemployment, it goes through Finance Committee, the Agriculture and Nutrition pieces go through the Agriculture Committee, which I am the ranking Democrat on. We have all of these committees who are assigned to negotiate on their pieces of this, which we have been doing. And now it's true that in the end, you get to the top four leaders to put it together. Would I like to have had this done sooner? Absolutely. We tried to get Senator McConnell to work with us in the summer when he said he didn't know whether or not there needed to be anything more done or not. And then half his caucus said they wouldn't support anything more, which is the position that we've had to deal with. The great news is that some of the Republicans in the Senate deserve great credit for stepping forward with Democrats to negotiate after the election and have done a great job of giving us a framework. So
Right.
They gave us a framework. Then each of the framework was given to each of the committees. The four leaders in the House and the Senate of the committees were asked to negotiate their pieces, which we have done. They now are all put it together with the top leaders. And at the last minute, Senator Toomey, being fully backed by the Republicans, has come in to say, wait a minute, we know you're trying to help people. We're trying to help people, but we want to take away a big tool for the next president to be able to help people if we see a real downturn in the economy. And it makes no sense.
Okay, so Senator Debbie Stabenow, and what I think they need to do in this situation is they just need to extend it to April 1st. That sounds reasonable to me. Extend it until you have the other stuff expiring, and then at that point, then they can go ahead and look at this again. When I say extended, I mean the CARES Act had the lending programs in there. Just extend those lending programs. And then after that, after we're a few months down the road, we can assess the whole situation, see if the vaccine is effective, all that. And then from that point, then we can move forward if they want to put some more restrictions on these lending programs. But it's just crazy to me that you're going to have one senator step up and say, well, I don't like this. And then according to Debbie Stabenow, you have other senators that are on board for this. So you have some other GOP senators saying, yeah, you know, this is, we're backing him on this. So situations like this, you need to extend it. We haven't heard this talk all this time. This is the first that we're hearing of this. This was not one of the sticking points before. And you see how the negotiations have been going, right? We have the state and local. That's a problem. We have the liability protection. That's a problem. We've known that's been a problem for 7 months. But now it's like, oh, and you talk about moving the goalposts. I know Republicans were saying that Democrats were moving the goalposts before the election. This is moving the goalposts here. This is, oh, no, you know what? But what about that provision? No, we don't want to extend that. That's news to us because it hasn't been an issue. It wasn't talked about before, but now it's being talked about. And one of the reasons it probably wasn't talked about is because they didn't know if President Trump was going to be reelected. Because if President Trump gets reelected, you don't want to end that program. But now that you have President-elect Joe Biden becoming president, now it's on the table. And so this is one of those situations where I think it's just politics, and they're just going to try to do as much as they can to hurt the other side. But guess who gets hurt out of this whole situation? The American people. And that's why our system is broken. It's not working. It is not working because of situations like this. People need money, businesses need money, and you have politicians that are arguing over, well, we don't want to give them the tools that they need in order in a situation where there's a crisis. So we're going to try to pull back on that, and we're going to hold off all this money and everything else that needs to go to the American people until we get our way. That's basically what he's saying. Pat Toomey is saying. So I want to know what you guys think. So down below, let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.